Everyone, Alodar here, and as you may or may not have already heard, Blizzard has announced that they are going to be making some changes to Wintergrasp for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. As we all remember, Wintergrasp was an iconic part of Wrath of the Lich King. It was one of my favorite things to do in Wrath. It was just a really enjoyable PvP experience for me. For those of you maybe unfamiliar with Wintergrasp, Wintergrasp was a PvP zone, even on PvP servers, if I remember correctly. And you basically had a battle every 3 hours, and the faction that won the battle got a bunch of perks and stuff like that towards the end. So it made it to be a fun little different type of a battleground, basically. You'd be invited into Wintergrasp. If you're already in the Wintergrasp area, you'd be invited to queue up for Wintergrasp if you were in the zone. If you weren't, a notification would go out to people, and if you were in Dalaran, you could go to your faction vendor and sign up there. There was also a limited amount of time for you to sign up as well. Now, before I go any further, at the end of the video, I talk about another option that I would have liked to maybe seen if Blizzard would have considered. I don't know that they did or not, but it's just an option I'm floating out there. Let me know in the comments below if you like what Blizzard's doing or my suggestion, or if you have something else maybe that you would have preferred to see happen. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article verbatim for you. I'll post the link down below. You can read it on Wowhead. But I'm going to go through the main points so that you can get an idea as to what's going on. And Blizzard basically gave a little bit of a background on what the problem is. And essentially the main problem is that with how current Classic has been developed with layering, it's not compatible with Wintergrasp. And it's something that they learned very on in the development of Wrath Classic. Essentially, scene mechanisms, events, and scripting that control how the battle is started and resolved, and how rewards are given out cannot function properly with layering. Blizzard says they spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out a workaround, but weren't able to find a solution that would allow the battleground to function in a satisfying way across realms with layers. Blizzard then also mentioned that there was a compromise that was made as they had to weigh the alternatives and felt that making Wintergrasp instancing was the change that would cause the least harm and allow the largest number of players in who wanted to participate. Blizzard has basically rebuilt Battle for Azeroth, they've said, as an epic Alterac Valley-like experience instead. I'm not really sure what this means, if this means that the layout is going to be any different or anything like that, but they did say that they had to rebuild it. They also said that there were some unique features to the Wintergrasp Battleground, and I guess we're just going to have to wait to see what those are. Now, joining the Battle for Wintergrasp Battleground is essentially going to be the exact same way that I remember it from Wrath. Every 3 hours, players will be notified that the Battle for Wintergrasp is about to begin. Players that are already in the outdoor zone will receive a queue prompt, and players that are in Dalaran will have to just go speak to their NPC and sign up there and queue up. The number of players to start a battleground will also be significantly lower than Alterac Valley. In fact, they gave it an example where it could be like 5 Horde versus 1 Alliance or something like that, and that could actually be enough for the battleground to start. Now, on servers where there's a significant faction imbalance, there will be the old tenacity buff, if you do remember that. If one side has a tremendous amount of more players than the other side, the side that has less numbers will get what's basically a large buff. Makes it a lot harder to kill them, and they do a lot more damage basically. So if it's imbalanced enough, you could actually be to the point where the players on one side basically have the strength of a raid boss. So that could also be kind of interesting to be on the side if you have only like 3 players and you're fighting like 40 and you're just like one-shotting people or something like that. So essentially that's what the tenacity buff does, and that's how it kind of offsets the number. Now, with these changes, there are obviously some questions that need to be answered. Now, for example, the winning faction gains the buff Essence of Wintergrasp, and essentially what this buff allows you to do is it gives you access to things like the Vault of Archivon. You're allowed to kill the elemental enemies in the Wintergrasp zone after the battle, as well as access to Stonekeeper shards, which can then be used to purchase powerful items like mounts and enchants and other recipes. So I'm going to assume that this is not a cross-server battleground, because otherwise it would be possible for both factions to have the buff and both have access to the Vault of Archivon. I don't really see how that could possibly work. So I'm going to assume, like, unlike other battlegrounds, this will not be cross-faction, and it will just be, you know, people on the same server, which is kind of nice. That's actually how I prefer it. I don't really like cross-faction battlegrounds at all. I like knowing the enemy and seeing them on the battleground and killing them and building a hatred for them and stuff like that. Now, on a lot of servers, this is going to be a big problem. On servers like mine, Fairlina, it's now completely Horde imbalance, and on other servers like Benediction, it's Alliance. Those servers, you're going to constantly see battles where it's like, 40 on 3 or something like that. It's going to be a little bit silly and a little bit ridiculous, I guess. So my suggestion was, and I don't know if Blizzard had ever really thought about this, because it's not like they haven't copied from other games before and games haven't copied from Blizzard before, but I was kind of curious if maybe they thought of trying out something similar to what Guild Wars 2 does with their world PvP or server versus server situation, where you have servers fight against each other. So it's not just, it wouldn't be just Horde on Fairlina fighting the Alliance on the Alliance on their server. It would be Horde fighting maybe the Alliance on Benediction, and it would kind of be a battle, or maybe it could be just your server versus another server. Throughout the history of time, and trust me, I go way back here. I'm talking about games like Ultima Online and stuff like that, where every single game there's always people claiming that their server's better for PvPers and stuff like that. Well, here's an opportunity to actually duke it out and find out. Back in Ultima Online, we had like Pacific versus Chesapeake or something like that. People would always argue which server's better. Obviously, it was Pacific. That's the server I played on. But same as other games. Like which server was better with PvPers in Dark Ages of Camelot or Shadowbane or EverQuest or something like that, right? So here's an opportunity to kind of do what Guild Wars 2 did. And they actually had the servers compete against them. So one side of the battleground would be players from Fairlina, and the other side of the battleground would be maybe players from Grobulus or players from Benediction or something like that. I think if they were going to make changes, at least this would bring it back to being 40 on 40, that sort of thing. It might make it a little bit more fun, and it would be a sense of pride for your server as well. So that's kind of a suggestion that maybe I had. Maybe you have a different suggestion. Like I said earlier, if you have another suggestion, let me know in the comments below. If you like what Blizzard's doing, is it the best, the best opportunity or best thing that they could possibly do? Or do you maybe like my suggestion? Maybe you don't. Maybe you hate it. I don't know. But anyways, if you like the video, please do me a super huge favor. Give me a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. I am trying to come out with content daily. There's going to be lots of different content here, so if you like this video, please subscribe. It would really help me out. And if you want to watch me live stream, I do stream 6 nights a week over at twitch.tv/Alodar. I start usually at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can follow me there and come chat with me about any range of topics. We talk about basically anything nerdy, whether it's gaming or Game of Thrones or what have you. We talk about a lot of different things. Would love to see you there. All the links will be down below. You can follow me on Twitter and all that sort of stuff too. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.